Alrighty, the next thing we're going to talk about with geometry is surface area of three-dimensional shapes. And surface area is just how much space is on the outside of that shape. So if we think of a rectangular prism or a box, you can open it up and lay it out. And I'm sure you've all done this with boxes before, and I can see in there that I have these different shapes, but I only still have those three dimensions. So in other words, if this is 5, this is 5, this is 5, this is 5, and this is 5. This one's 4, this one's 4, this one's 4. The short side is 3, so I can use all those. I can find the area of each different shape and then add them up. And that is what surface area is. And there are equations and formulas, rather, that have been developed to find and condense that to be able to just put in those three numbers and pop it out. But if you're stuck, this is just one way to think of it. You can just find all of those surface areas and then add them back up together. Now I can see that this one's going to be 5 times 4, which is an area of 20, and I know that this is the same, and so is this. So these are all 20 centimeters squared. This one right here is a 5 by 3, which is what tells me that right there. So this one is 15 centimeters squared. And these ones are going to be 4, because if I were to fold up my box and wrap this one up, this side and this side would be bumped up against each other. They would be butted up. So this one's going to be 3 times 4, and that is 12 centimeters squared, which means that this one is also 12 centimeters squared for its areas. So I have 3 of these, so 3 times 20 centimeters squared, plus 2 of those, 2 times the 12 centimeters squared, and 1 of those in the middle there, so 15 centimeters squared, so 60 centimeters squared, plus 24 centimeters squared, plus 15 centimeters squared, and then I just continue to add those up. There's 39 centimeters squared plus 60, and that gives us 99 centimeters squared. Finding the volume of three-dimensional shapes. See if we can pull that in there a little bit so you can see those numbers and try them out. In order to find the volume of a prism, I find the area of its base, and then it's like that base has just been stacked up on top of itself to find the height. So for instance, over here on this rectangle, I don't know if you can read this, but this is 8 inches by 6 inches. Well, in order to find that rectangle, and it's the same rectangle that I have on the top, in order to find its area, I'm going to do the length times the width. So 8 times 6, which gives me 48 inches squared. Now I have 5 inches worth of those stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to multiply that times 5 inches. And now you see I have inches times inches times inches. So I'm going to have inches cubed, because I'm looking for these little cubes that are 1 inch by 1 inch. And I'm going to do 48 times 5 and find out that that is 240 cubic inches in that rectangle. The same thing can be done for the volume of my triangular prism there. And the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height, or base times height divided by 2, however you prefer to think about that. My height here is 8 meters, and my base width is 5 meters. And you almost have to think of this like a piece of pie flopped on its side, because my height is going to be my 3 meters. So I'm going to do 8 times 5 times 1/2, or 8 times 5 divided by 2, which gives me 40 divided by 2, which gives me an area of 20 meters squared. Now I'm going to multiply that times 3 meters. And so I get 60 cubic meters in there. So meters that are 1 meter, cubes that are 1 meter by 1 meter, and I have 60 of those that fit in there. Last shape I'm going to do here, and then you'll notice that all of these shapes incorporate the three above. I'm going to do a cylinder. And in order to do that, I need to remember how to find the area of a circle that we talked about earlier in this video. To find the area of a circle, I do pi times the radius squared. And my radius here it's giving me is 7. So I can think of that exactly as 49 pi. And sometimes it asks me to find it just in pi. So that is 49 pi centimeters squared. And then I could multiply 49 pi centimeters squared by 9 centimeters. And I would get 441 times pi centimeters cubed. Now, if I want an approximation, I'm going to go ahead and put pi in, 3.14, times that 7 squared. And then my approximation is going to be 153.86, and that is centimeters squared, and then I would multiply that times the 9 and get 1,384.74 centimeters cubed. And that is how I get my centimeters cubed. Would invite you to pause or come back and try these shapes to see if you can find their volumes as well. A little bit more about volumes. Once again, I would invite you to pause and try out these problems for yourself. And here is another possible. Plug it in and try it out and see if you can get the same answers.